All right, what up? Peace, peace, peace. Sorry, what's up? Peace, peace, peace. What up, man? Just want to come back, man, with a quick thoughts, man. Because a lot of times, like especially us, being in the word, things and in the faith. Like a lot of times too, there's a power in words, man. What we say, and also too, this like Yahushua said in John 6:63, when he says, "My words are spirit, man." So a lot of times too, when we say Kwam Yasharahla, that means Raz Israel. We want our people to rise, but one of my homies even he's not in the word, but he's just like more more he's kind of but he's very respectful of it. He actually goes in the word, like he actually reads the word as well, man. So that's up to Most High House if he comes in fully in the word, will understand it. But he's like one of those people, man. He's actually one of those people that we always talk about, they might not be in the word, but they might not, they just don't really believe, or they're believing is they had the zeal, but it's not according to understanding, or they just or you got people like that, they have all the qualities of us in the word, all they follow, like Romans 2 goes into, like they follow the laws without following without even knowing them, because that's just who they are, or they simply just don't believe. They actually have good qualities and of the word, they live by the word, but it's based on whom they are, but they just don't believe, or they don't have the proper understanding. He's like that. But back to the point, he sent me something in Philippians 3 earlier, man. It's about going to resurrection, man. So that leads me to this, man, because a lot of times too, when we say it's being said like Kwam Yasharahla or Rise Israel, this is going to, I think this goes into the natural sense, like our people need to rise, wake up, but hold on, a lot of times too, it goes into that as well. It goes into the natural sense, our people need to rise, because we heard the poem before, the songs, like we shall rise, we shall overcome, like on a natural tip, of course, as far as being on natural tip as captivity into the other nations, but spiritually, of course, need to rise, spiritually, because we need to rise from the dead, even on this side, because Proverbs 21:16 goes into that, but more importantly, man, the Kwam Yasharahla mean rise Israel, man, meaning we should be even myself included, living according to the promises, so that you can resurrect from the dead as Yahushua did. So that means that's the power of Kwam Yasharahla, rise Israel, rise from the dead. Of course, on this side, because listen, like we said earlier, listen, you could be naturally alive, but still being dead. So rise in that sense, but also to resurrecting the dead, because that's the ultimate enemy is sin and death. Because I was talking about this with my grandma. A lot of times too, when we see people, they get mad at we seen it with the whole pandemic, right? With COVID-19, or every year the NFL or these other sports leagues, they go into different things, or even other different organizations, companies, they go things they go on different things cancer, leukemia, and they say F cancer or F leukemia or F chemo or F this and that, diseases that people die from, and it's not the disease itself, it's death. And that's why it's the ultimate enemy. And that's why the natural enemy, the natural man can't overcome. That's the only thing, that's the only thing man can beat is death. Because Ecclesiastes 8:8 says that even man doesn't know his death. That's what Yahushua gave us power to do, overcome sin and death, man. Because that was his plan. Because of course, the Most High Yahushua said, was in Psalm too. That was never the point. That was never the mission for man. He wanted to be us, to be in his image. And aren't they eternal, the Alpha and Omega? Don't they live forever? Then the Most High Yahushua say in Deuteronomy 32, I live forever, man. So of course, what do he wants his sons and daughters to do, man? If we're in his image. So yeah, man. So it's another perspective to look at Kwam Yasharahla, meaning rise, is a rise from the dead. Of course, naturally, on the natural tip, from our state, but also too spiritually on this side, rise from the dead, being living out the Most High House without understanding, but also to rise from the dead. We should live for that promise, for the resurrection, man. Because it's really crazy. The brother somebody first one said, man, imagine somebody, a loved one that passed away, man, and you see them, and one day you see them on the couch, it's wow, you'd be really shocked, wow, he really came back. That's why the disciples are so shocked. Yo, he really, oh my gosh, that's what Thomas then really was unbelief. Wow, he actually did that, man, because that's the one thing man can't beat is death. So yeah, man, cool, like with Kwame Yasharahla, because I don't say that as much, but I was just thinking about that. Like, let's look at that as another in another perspective. Like, as in, like, that's just for the resurrection perspective, like the spiritual perspective, man. So that's really it, man. Hopefully this is edifying for y'all brothers and sisters. So peace.